That's what it is. We become cynical. We develop a sense of detachment. You might start to feel numb, just like you're going through the motions. You might notice that your patience with people and with situations, it wears thin, right? It for me, non-existent. And the things that used to roll off of your back now irritate you and piss you, and now you're exploding for no reason. Does this sound familiar?
You are now listening to the Just Corrections podcast with your host, William Young.
Can we just get this show on the road?
Greetings, my fearless frontliners, my fellow guardians of the galleries. I'm William Young, and this is the Just Corrections podcast. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that I've written and spoken extensively about, a topic that is incredibly important to me, but is often overlooked in our profession. Today, we're going to talk about correctional fatigue. So in this episode right here, we're going to dig into what it means to experience said fatigue as a correctional professional, why it happens, and most importantly, what can we do about it? But before we get started, I want to thank the members of the Just Corrections Patreon community for supporting this podcast. I cannot thank y'all enough. Look, working in corrections is tough. It's difficult, daunting, crazy. It's definitely unlike your 9-to-5 desk job. And it's certainly not for everybody, right? That's one of our good pieces of advice that we offer people that we should absolutely stop saying. But that's another episode. Look, we face challenges, correctional staff face challenges that most people outside of this field, they can't even begin to understand. The stress, the trauma, high pressure situations, the constant need to be always hyper vigilant. All of that takes a toll on us physically, mentally, and emotionally. And this toll, what I'm talking about, is what the industry lovingly refers to as correctional fatigue. And correctional fatigue, if you're unfamiliar, is a state of exhaustion, of physical and emotional exhaustion that develops over time throughout your career. It's the wear and tear of constantly dealing with the bullshit, right? The negativity, the tension, the unpredictability of the correctional environment. And let's be honest. Let's face it. In this line of work, we never get a break. Every second of every shift, we're dealing with bullshit. We're dealing with the inmates. We're dealing with life or death, high risk situations, and sometimes even colleagues who are struggling with their own issues. So what happens when when correctional fatigue sets in? Well, we get burned out. That's what it is. We become cynical. We develop a sense of detachment. You might start to feel numb, just like you're going through the motions. You might notice that your patience with people and with situations, it wears thin, right? It for me, non-existent. And the things that used to roll off of your back now irritate you and piss you, and now you're exploding for no reason. Does this sound familiar? Well, if it does, you're not alone. In fact, studies like the one that was put out, I think back in 2019 or 2020 by One Voice United, and I'll throw the link in the description of the show notes so you can check it out, they show that staff face higher rates of depression, anxiety, PTSD, and even suicidal thoughts, right, compared to the general public, to your neighbor, to the banker up the street. And we experience levels of stress. Get this, correctional staff experience levels of stress similar to that of military personnel and the real law enforcement officers, right? If you're listening to this, instead of I used air quotes when I said real law enforcement officers, yet the unique stressors that we face go unrecognized by society. But that's only part of the problem, because not only by society, but they go unrecognized by us as well. And I talk about this in my new book that's coming out, Trained to Change. And I say, we're conditioned, right? Correctional staff is conditioned from the start of our career to be cold-hearted, to be untrusting, judgmental, calloused, unsympathetic. And this training, combined with the daily realities of the job, the grind, the trauma, slowly erodes us emotionally, and it takes away our ability to feel, to connect, to care for ourselves and others. And it's no wonder that we become detached. It's what we've been trained, right? What we've been taught to do. And here's the thing: recognizing the reality of correctional fatigue, that's the first step. That's the first thing that you have to do to acknowledge it before you can talk about managing it, right? Ignoring it, pretending it doesn't exist, pushing through it without addressing it, that's what leads to burnout. That's what kills us in the long run. And here's the thing: burnout doesn't just affect you, right? The job, and I talk about this in the book, the job doesn't just affect you, it affects everybody around you, your coworkers, your family, everybody. So let's talk about, right? Let's roll into what we can do to fight this fatigue, to combat this fatigue, and take control of our well-being. All right, so the first thing that we could do, right, first and foremost, it's crucial. It's paramount to establish traditional strategies that help you decompress and shift gears from work mode to personal time, from work to home. And I know that's easier said than done, but having a deliberate routine to help you wind down can be incredibly effective. And I'm not talking about the leave work at work and home at home bullshit that we feed each other. That's not what I'm talking about, because that's impossible. And if you've heard me speak, you've listened to anything I've said, you've read anything that I've written, you already understand how I feel about that. So instead of leaving work, leaving home in those places and trying to pretend that we can manage and ignore the other half of ourselves, we're going to talk about some strategies instead. So instead of going straight home, right, and jumping right into life, jumping right into your personal life, consider taking a few minutes to just decompress, to be by yourself, whether you're just sitting in a car, whether you're listening to music, right, calming music, or death metal, Norwegian death metal, whatever you like, or maybe just engaging in some breath exercises, right? Just learning how to breathe. You can try stopping at the gym, going for a walk, and that's actually what I'm going to do when I finish recording this episode here, or maybe just take the long way home. These little things, these small actions can help your mind tell your body that it's time to leave the stress of the day behind. And what that does is it allows you to be present when you're home and relaxed when you finally step through the door. And again, this is not the leave work at work and home bullshit that we got to just stop saying that, right? We got to stop telling each other that. This is about having an intentional transitional strategy to allow yourself time to fade in and out of two very different environments. Another step, another critical piece is to communicate, is to talk about what you're experiencing, right? Many of us have this tough guy, tough gal mentality, and it's okay. Listen, I know what you think. I know what you've been told. I know what the correctional profession touts. But it's okay to admit when the things are getting to you. That's why we have peer support teams, right? That's why they exist. If you're feeling overwhelmed, reach out to somebody, talk to somebody who understands what you're going through. It's not, guys, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. One of the toughest things to do is to admit that you can't do things, right? It's a sign of strength, and you don't have to face this alone. And sometimes just talking about it can help. It can be the first step in your healing journey. All right, now I'm going to bring up a topic that I love when I travel and I speak and I mention the words self-care. I can almost feel correctional officers in unison, right, rolling their eyes. But I want to talk about self-care because it's more than just a buzzword. It's more than just something that your stay-at-home yoga Pilates doing neighbor does, right? It's a necessity. It's got to be part of our jobs. And self-care isn't just about bubble baths and candles, right? It's about taking care of your physical health. It's about eating right. It's about engaging in activities that feed your soul. And so here, I'm going to give you, let's list some. I made a list for you. Here are some self-care suggestions that may help, right? Number one, exercise. Physical activity is one of the most effective ways to manage stress. You got to send that energy somewhere, and it doesn't have to be an intense workout. A simple walk, jog, or go to the yoga class with your neighbor. It can help release tension and clear your mind. Number two, engage in mindful activities. Try things like, and this is where I love this, try things like meditation. Try things like deep breathing exercises or other mindfulness techniques. Even just a few minutes a day, right? 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day can help ground you and bring you back to the present moment. I use this one a lot. When I feel myself getting stressed, when I feel myself getting anxious, when I have trouble sleeping, I breathe. And I use a technique that I've learned called box breathing, 4-4-4-4, and you can look it up and Google it, and maybe I'll link a video in it. But essentially what it does is it lowers your heart rate. It forces you to focus on just breathing. And guys, you can do this. You can do this in the unit. You can do this on a quick break. You can do this before you enter the unit. You can do this before you enter your home. Breathing works. Trust me on this, guys. Number three. I think we're on 3. Are we on 2 or are we 3? We're on 3. Stay connected, right? One of the self-preservation techniques that we use, that we cloak under the umbrella of officer safety, and I talk about this in the book, Trained to Change, that you need to check out, available on Amazon, selfless plug, is that when we self-isolate, it makes our fatigue worse, and we think we're doing it to protect ourselves. We think we're doing it to protect our family, but guys, it makes our symptoms worse, right? So what you need to do is you need to reach out to the friends, you need to reach out to the family, you need to reach out to your colleagues, and go have a cup of coffee with them. Go have a cup of coffee, have a chat, send some text back and forth. Just be around people. Be around your people. Guys, human connection is not only a powerful antidote to fatigue, but according to Maslow, right, it's something that we all crave. Humans are pack animals. We crave connection, and I know what you're thinking. You hate people. I hate people, right? I say it all the time, but the reality is, I love my people. I need to be around my people, and you need to figure out who your people are, and you need to stay connected to your people, right? Number 4, the next one here, something that I love to do. I love hobbies. I love doing random things, and my family makes fun of it, makes fun of me for it, because I am all over the map with this stuff, right? But engaging in hobbies, engaging in activities that you love outside of work is an excellent way to recharge your battery. So whether it's reading, right? I love to read, painting, fishing, playing. Let me tell you a funny story about fishing. Here's what I want you to do, how I want you to gauge your hobby. I have a friend of mine, good friend of mine that I work with, and he loves fishing. Everybody can tell you that that's his thing. He loves fishing, and he loves it so much. We went to Colorado together years ago, and we left after class. We were there on a training class, and after class, he had to find a stream. And so he finds this stream, and he's in his slacks, and he's in his dress shoes, and he buys this cheap pole from Walmart, and he goes out in the middle of this Colorado River so he can fish. That's how much he loves fishing, right? And when you have hobbies like that, when you have things like painting or fishing or writing or playing a musical instrument or whatever it is, it's really not about the thing that you're doing. It's about keeping your mind quiet. It's about taking your mind off of the things that are fogging it up. That's what you need to find. Those are what the hobby is about. You can see in the background that plant back there. I made that plant. I love to do crazy things like that. Build furniture out of pallets, go kayaking. I don't care. It's not about what I'm doing. It's about what it's making me think of, right? It's about keeping my mind off of things that are bouncing around after years and years and years of trauma, right? So set aside time for your hobbies, things that reset yourself, right? Now, this next one, number 5, I hate talking about this. And I hate when the experts talk about this, because it's like the unicorn, right? We need to get sleep. We need sleep. And then, look, and I say this, what is sleep? It's the unicorn. I don't even get sleep. Like, what is sleep? But I can't stress this enough, guys. Sleep is crucial, right? We need to be alert. We need to make life or death decisions, and we cannot function if we're running on empty. So make sleep a priority. I know that you don't get enough of it, right? But what you can do is get it when you can. Try to make the quality of your sleep as good as you can, right? So dig into that. I know you guys can't sleep for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. That's ridiculous. That's ludicrous, right? I know you're getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep a day. How do you get the best 3 to 4 hours of sleep that you can get? That's what I want you to focus on. That's what I want you to get out of this. Get sleep, good quality sleep, when you can get it. I don't care how long it is. Take a 20-minute cat nap in the corner of an office on your overtime. I don't care. Figure out how to get quality sleep, because here's the honest to God truth. It doesn't matter what you do outside of that. Working out, eating right, all of that, that's good help. But if you're not giving your body the opportunity to recharge, it doesn't matter. Lack of sleep will kill you, right? It creates all these complicated, but listen, but I'm preaching to the choir. You guys know this. It's totally okay. Last on my list for this is number 6. Sometimes self-care means seeking, here we go, professional help. Woo! Talk to a counselor. Talk to a counselor. I don't know why I did that weird noise. That was maybe because I was trying to be spooky, scary, because talking to a therapist is scary. Talking to a counselor or a therapist or a support group is scary, but there's no shame, guys, in asking for help. You don't ask for help with anything else that we do, right? There's no shame in me saying, hey, can you help me drag this guy down to the hall to the room? There's no shame in that. There's no shame when we sound an alarm and people start piling on top of each other and they're handcuffing and knee striking and doing all these things. There shouldn't be any shame in this either, right? And so my baseline for this is, if you feel like you need help, right, then talk to somebody. If you feel like you may need to talk to somebody, then what's the harm? Go talk to them. And it is spooky, but here's the best part about having a counselor, having a therapist, having somebody that you don't know, right? That you aren't really invested in the relationship. You can say shit to them that you can't say to anybody else. You can put all your laundry out there. You can put all of those thoughts that you keep just so far down. You can let it rip. You can let it rip, and you can leave it with them, and then you can let them figure it out. And you feel so much better. I have gotten so much out of speaking with professional counselors and therapists, support groups. I can't even begin to tell you. So if you're hesitating, if you're thinking, sitting there listening to this, watching this, thinking, you know what? I don't know. Maybe I would benefit. Then go do it. Then just check it out. Because here's the deal. You could be halfway through the session or session 2 or 3, and you'd be like, you know what? I didn't need this. Then what's the harm? You're out your copay, or maybe you're going to the free employee assistance that your county or facility offers, and good, you're out nothing but some time. What's the harm if you do it? It's totally okay. And I know somebody's going to put in the comment, you're going to go back. That's another video, guys. If you feel like you need to talk to somebody, go and talk to somebody. All right, lastly, I want to talk about the importance of awareness, right? Correctional fatigue isn't just something that happens. It doesn't happen overnight. It creeps up on you slowly. So pay attention to the signs, the things that I talked about, the fatigue, the irritability, the lack of motivation. And if you notice these things, if you notice any shift, or get this, if anybody else notices a change in you, listen, act on that. Figure out where that's coming from. And if you notice them, right, the small things, address them before they become big things. You already do this. You already do this at work, right? I had a supervisor, address the small stuff. People say, don't sweat the small stuff. He says, no, I sweat the small stuff because the small stuff becomes big stuff. And this is the same thing. So in my book, I write, we're left fighting an enemy that we didn't even know existed. And this fatigue, right? This feeling can feel like an invisible force, an invisible foe, if you will. But once you acknowledge it, right? Once you call it what it is, you take away its power, and you can start to regain control over your life, your relationships, your health, your happiness. Folks, look, I want you to know that it's okay to feel tired, that it's okay to feel drained. This job is crazy. It demands a lot from us, but you owe it to yourself, right? You owe it to your family. You owe it to your coworkers to take care of yourself, because when you're at your best, you're not just an officer, right? You're not just a better officer. You're a better friend. You're a better parent. You're a better spouse. You're a better person. And that's what I want for you. That's my hope for you. So as we wrap up today's episode, I want you to know that if you're experiencing this, if you're experiencing correctional fatigue, guys, it doesn't mean that you're weak or that you can't do the job or that you're feeling. It means that you are human. And it means that you care. And it means that you have been impacted by a job that demands more from you, that is taking more from you than most people will ever understand. But you have to push back. You have the power to push back, to reclaim your life and to find joy and fulfillment, both not only on the job. This isn't why I'm talking about this. Not just about on the job. It's off the job. But to do that, right, to accomplish that, you have to recognize that the threat is real, that this thing is a real thing. And that's the first step, right? And it's not being perfect. It's not about being perfect or invincible here, because we're not. It's about being human. And it's about you deserving a life that's not consumed or destroyed by this job, right? It's about finding joy. It's about finding peace. It's about finding fulfillment that you absolutely deserve behind the walls, beyond the walls. Sorry about that. I get a little worked up. I get a little soapboxy when it comes to your mental health, when it comes to your wellness, when it comes to all of us getting out of this career, this environment with our head, our hearts, and our households intact. So thank you for hanging with me. Thank you for joining me today on the Just Corrections podcast. If you found value in this episode, if something that I said resonated with you, go ahead and share it, talk about it, subscribe, and join us next week, as we continue to tackle these challenges, right? This craziness that we face in corrections. All right, guys, that's all I got. Until next time, be smart, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll talk soon.